Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we're playing a bit of a spicy Grixis list that comes from none other than James Kisau. They had a 5-0 league with this deck. They are basically like the Grixis player in Legacy. They're always on some sort of Grixis control style brew. And I saw this one. It's playing some new cards like Kaito, Metamorphosis Fanatic, and even the Abhorrent Oculus. So I thought this would be a good enough way to showcase some of these new cards, and hopefully they can do some work for us. So this is basically just a control deck. We've got our removal in our Lightning Bolts, our Sheoldred's Edict, our Kolaghan's Command. We've got Force of Wills to keep things going. We've got cantrips, Brainstorms, Ponder, Lorien Revealed. We've got some win conditions in the form of Tamiyo, which is sort of a win condition. The Baleful Strix is kind of removal, holding the board, general sort of jam. The Kaito that I mentioned earlier. The Metamorphosis Fanatic, which can get back our Bowmasters or our Baleful Strix and just get some value. Basically, we're a grindy value deck with a bunch of different interlocking parts, whether we're clinging to dust in graveyards or Thoughtseize in our opponent's hand, Brazen Borrowing, Narset, Snapcaster. We've got it all. And there's another card that I haven't seen yet on the channel, which is the Waterlogged Teachings. So this is 4 mana instant, search your library for an instant or card with flash, reveal it, put it into your hand or shuffle. So Mystical Teachings, for anyone who remembers that one back in the day. Or it can come in tapped as a black or blue land. Or sorry, a black and blue land. So yeah, we just got a bunch of differing tools that all kind of interlace together to make a grindy control deck. Our sideboard, we've got some blasts, we've got some more graveyard hate, we've got some more win conditions, we've got various elements of disruption, whether it's graveyard, whether it's removal, hand disruption, consigned to memories. We've got a whole bunch of things. Our mana base is also pretty reasonable here because we've got enough basics to play on. We've got 2 islands, 2 swamps, and a mountain. So we have a lot of ability to play around wasteland effects. But we're obviously not going to be running our own wastelands because that would be a bit foolish in a deck with these casting costs. Alright, I don't think there's much more to say about this one. Let's just jam right in. If you'd like to see my videos early, you can also become a member of my YouTube channel for just £1 a month. And you get early access to my videos. So why not do that and support the channel if you've got the money to spare. But for now, like, subscribe, and let's get Grixis controlling. Okay, our opener here is a little bit awkward because we're going to have to play this Waterlogged Teachings as a land. But we do have a couple of draw sets we have to worry about missing land drops. Any blue land, which is a lot of the lands in our deck, does unlock our hand in a big way. And we do have the new exciting Abhorrent Oculus to play. So I think we're going to keep this one. If our opponent makes a threat on turn 1 and then has a wasteland for our Waterlogged Teachings, then we're going to fall very far behind. That is what I'm afraid of here. But if that doesn't happen, we can probably smooth this game out. We've got a lot of ability to find the bits and pieces we need. Okay, so our opponent is unlikely to be doing any sort of wasteland, but they will be doing some amount of Blood Moon type stuff because this looks like a classic Red Prison, Red Stompy style start. A Lightning Bolt. Let's play the Archive and pass. We can get 1 turn to fire off a cantrip, that would be great. I did mention how we have lots and lots of basic lands in our deck. 5 is an awful lot for a Legacy deck. Ancient Tomb. No threat, no Blood Moon. I'll take that. An Underground Sea. Happy to see that as well. I'm going to Brainstorm here. What is this doing for us? Not the most. The Lightning Bolt is likely to be useful. A lot of their threats are clean-upable. Clean-upable? Is that a word? We can certainly clean up their threats with the Lightning Bolt. I think we just bury a Ponder and a Narset for now. And then deploy a Swamp, maybe deter our opponent from getting some more, or getting some sort of Blood Moon action. But if they had a Blood Moon, they probably would have cast it last turn. So they must be waiting on a 4-drop. We will eventually find red mana. That's why I'm happy to keep this Lightning Bolt. So the other option there we had was to put the Fanatic on top and just get a 2-mana 4/4 lifelink. Which is okay, but I don't think it's good enough. Alright. The initiative is now very much in the game. Our plan here is to use this Ponder, I think. Alternatively, we could just make our massive yacht. I do kind of want to see this in play. This is going to make... Oh no, we have to exile 6 cards from our graveyard. We don't get to make this. Probably should have put that back on top. Okay, so we're pondering first, looking for a red source. We found a red source. So we can wait for our opponent to put counters on this. And then Lightning Bolt in response. Okay, here we go. So on a red source, we have a lot of black, so I think we just want the Volcanic here. And get a bit more blue on the go. Good old-fashioned Lightning Bolt. Still good after all these years. Although not great in the format at large, but it's served us okay so far. The One Ring. Yep, that's obviously a pretty powerful card to be doing stuff with. We need a couple more cards in the graveyard to get our Abhorrent Oculus going, but that should do an awful lot of work here. We do need to get a creature in play so we can try and take the initiative back. Fable of the Mirror Breaker, that's a pretty strong one. Cling to Dust. Does that help us out here at all? Probably not. What are we doing with our Kaito or our Narset? What would we like to find with a Narset? We're just looking for more creatures. I think we could have played this game a lot differently. We should have put back the Abhorrent Oculus earlier. Maybe our opponent will waste time going after the Narset. What would I like to keep back? A Lightning Bolt would be a good or a reasonable draw here. But we have the Cling to Dust. I think I'm going to go shields down on the blue sources, on the red source here. Let's go for an Narset. Alright, so we did find the Lightning Bolts. That was a bit of a punish for us there, but does that mean we're supposed to take the Lightning Bolt here? So we have that for next turn. I think so. That was always a risk that could happen. So now we have the Cling to Dust. We can gain 3 life, or we can draw a card with it. We're just trying to get our big blue creature into play here. Yep, 5 life is a lot of life, but we haven't taken any real damage until now. Unfortunately, we can't just Lightning Bolt our opponent's face and steal the initiative. We have to hit them with a creature. Not always the easiest thing to do. They're coming after Narset, presumably, here. Like, they're ahead on so many metrics. Oh, wow, they're not even going after Narset. That is curious to me. A Fury. That's why they're not going after the Narset. Understood. Okay. Do we want to Cling to Dust anything here? 3 life is kind of a big deal. So this is 6. And then, so this is, we're going to hit us for 8. Although we're going to bolt this, aren't we? Right, I think we just need to, we just get a card here. Right, so we can Lightning Bolt this Fury. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can do this without losing our Cling to Dust. Right, so now we've got a big creature in play. I think we'll get this Bloodstained Mire in. We're unlikely to want to do very much with it. But at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, we get ourselves a card off the top. So we're going to Manifest Dread. I guess we'll take the Obstructionist here. So we can turn this into a flying creature and we can bash for lethal next turn. So our opponent's probably incentivized to get this One Ring turned into a new copy of the One Ring. Just get themselves a little bubble. That will guarantee them throwing the dead 3. Right, our opponent's drawing with the One Ring after a very long pause thinking about it. This means that if we hit them with just our Oculus, it's lethal. That's probably why they're thinking about drawing with it for so long. Also, tapping the Ancient Tomb can be a bit risky on this life total. Well, our opponent really needs that. So this is either means our opponent needs the mana from this, or they're trying to play a Fury that kills our Oculus. So I'm just... Am I going to block with our manifested creature? If they have the Fury, then they're going to kill it anyway. I think we'll just trade this off. Then our Oculus will be enough to kill our opponent with the One Ring damage next turn. Plays around Fury best. Another Ancient Tomb. So you can cast a One Ring and then their Ancient Tombs won't hurt them for a turn. Because they have the treasure here. It's going to be a big Shadow Skull smashing for 5. It is. Nothing we can really do to help that out. But we can put this Metamorphosis Fanatic on top of our library and get back all of our things. Not all of our things, but enough of our things that maybe we can beat this throwing the dead 3. So our opponent's only on 4. Let's get a blue source and cast a Brainstorm. So, oh, we can't get a blue source. Ah. Interesting. I'll just get this Undercity Sewers then. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can still do what I was planning on doing. I will leave this on top of my library. Can we do anything that is better than Metamorphosis Fanatic into Abhorrent Oculus? I don't think we can. So I think we just play this out. Hardcast this. Let's go big. Let's go and get back our Oculus. Certainly one of the cooler arts from the new set. Look at that. Giant Terrifying Eye Monster. So now we've got 9 power of lifelink damage. Now our opponent does get to throw in the dead 3 here. Kolaghan's Command or a Tamiyo. So what we can do here is... do we want to flip the Tamiyo? We could play the Tamiyo and try and flip it later. Or we could play the Kolaghan's Command and try and bounce it back to our hand with the Kaito. I think the Tamiyo is probably slightly better here. I suspect we're going to see a Fury copy Fury this turn. They reveal their 10 cards. A Pyrogoyf. So that can just dome us to the face for 7 and they can copy it and kill us. It's pretty good. Yep, our opponent has seen the line to just doming us to death. Okay. How do we want to approach this one? Removal spells in general are useful. Good creatures are useful. Sort of stuff is fine. Consign to Memory sometimes is useful in these spots. And Meltdown is also useful sometimes. What do I not like here? Cling to Dusts are an obvious one to go. How do I feel about the Thoughtseize? The Thoughtseize on the play is kind of fine to take your opponent's best thing as well. Let's put that over here. And the other copies. So life-giving creatures is pretty good. Narset isn't stopping them doing that much at the end of the day. Snapcaster is good. Bowmasters is great at taking the initiative back off our opponent. Tamiyo, this isn't really the matchup for Tamiyo in my opinion. What have we got here? 6 cards over. So currently these aren't in and neither are the Thoughtseizes. Kaito, bouncing our Baleful Strix is pretty nice here. Nimble Obstructionist can maybe... We can cycle this and counter their going into the Undercity. That's pretty reasonable. Force of Will is one of those things where they could be great or they could be terrible. If our opponent's got the Vexing Borrower, then our Force of Wills do nothing. So maybe we go off the Force of Wills to get the Thoughtseizes. That gives us another slot to try and work something in. What do I want here? Just have more bodies. We can have a Miser's Force of Will, because sometimes it will come up and be useful. Or we could have like a Meltdown or a Consign, because they might be trying to do Chalice things. So I hate having a Meltdown in there. I'll try that. Okay, so we keep this and we get an island on turn 1. Therefore, Blood Moon it does not impact us. It does mean we don't get to Lightning Bolt on turn 1, but we can go turn 2 Strix, turn 3 Strix plus Bolt. And that seems like a pretty good way to play Magic the Gathering to me. A Chrome Mox. This is something we can pick off with Kolaghan's Command for free later on. A Vexing Borrower. That's fine. It's not what this is about. I'm not going to go and get Surveil Land. I do still want to have my basics underneath me. So I want to get a creature in play first, because that way, if they get the initiative, we can steal it back very easily. Now, while Bowmasters isn't great here, just having 2 bodies is great. That's why it's still in our deck. The classic player, if your opponent plays an initiative creature, you play Bowmasters, you untap, kill their creature, take their initiative, and then just sit behind your interaction and win the game. So tried and tested game plan for a lot of Delver strategies. A Pyrogoyf. This is going to kill our Baleful Strix and pump their guy quite considerably. So now I have a 3-4. Let's go for Baleful Strix here. So we can Fatal Push their Pyrogoyf. Or we can bolt something else. I guess we'll see what our opponent materializes and then work from there. We're not attacking. Right, so we're going to go and get a Badlands here. Because if they play a Blood Moon, it won't matter because we'll have red mana off of this anyway. So let's kill the Pyrogoyf. And now we are in the driving seat, I would say. Let's bash. I'll play this land out. And I will Thoughtseize them with this. So boarding out the Force of Wills has worked out alright for us here. A Red Elemental Blast. We don't care about these Fairy Macabre. Not on that life right now. Get the Blast. And knowing what we know now, do we want to do anything differently? I think we can just hold up our interaction. We're unlikely to get a creature back using our Kolaghan's Command now. But we could take out like a Goblin Rabblemaster and their Chrome Mox, for example. A Blood Moon. Does this impact anything we're doing here? No. I think we're just going to pass that, having done very much there, unfortunately. Alright, so now we will cast a Ponder. Another island is nice. Snapcaster is pretty interesting, but not great against these Fairy Macabres. I think we'd just be keeping this for the island. I don't think that's good enough. A Kaito. That will be very good next turn. So we just sit up with Sheoldred's Edict, Lightning Bolt, Kolaghan's Command. There's all things we can cast. We can even cast the Edict and the Bolt. So I don't believe our opponent's going to bash us with creatures next turn. A Simian Spirit Guide. Alright, partner. You can have your Simian Spirit Guide. And we're going to send you back into the Stone Age here. So 2 damage and destroy an artifact. Destroy this Chrome Mox. Kill this guy. Sorry, Simian Spirit Guide. Paragoyf though. Is that better than Kaito? It might well be better than Kaito here. Like, they can't top deck a Red Blast to kill our Paragoyf. It's just going to run away with the game. The interaction we will leave up is the Lightning Bolt. Big 5/6. What are you supposed to do about that? They can't play any 4-drops if they draw them. Actually, no, I suppose they can. They got Chrome Mox. Right. So now we're actually clacking. Clacking? What am I talking about? Now we're crashing for pretty impressive amounts of damage. I can't not do this. The value is too strong. Bam. Get him. Alright, our opponent's had enough. Okay, so I think our sideboard plan looked very good there. I would like to do it again. Turn 1, Blood Moon can be annoying, which is the one thing that you would consider having the Force of Wills for. Bordering Fairy Macabres, though. I don't think we want the Forces. Maybe we want them instead of Thoughtseizes, though. Maybe we just have 3 of them when we're on the draw. Because the turn 1 Blood Moon before we get our fetch land down could just give them a free game. Now, we obviously have Lorien Revealed and 2 islands, so we have 3 hits, even if we're locked under a Blood Moon that can give us blue mana. Once we get blue mana, we can ponder and brainstorm into the other mana. That's the plan, at least. This hand has our basic island, but the rest of the hand isn't really playable, so I think we're going to have to mulligan this one. Yeah, I like this one a lot more. We keep this. We probably get rid of a Polluted Delta here. If we get a turn, then we're fine. Even if we don't get a turn, we still have 2 castable... Well, we have 3 castable spells. We don't actually need blue mana to play the cards in our hand. A Vexing Bauble, and we boarded out our... Oh no, we have 3 Force of Wills. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. I think we do have to get the island here, rather than bolting their creature. They have higher priority things to bolt, but this is going to allow them to accrue a significant mana advantage in this game. But they are hellbent right now. So we just have to answer what's in front of us. And tools like this Kolaghan's Command are going to be very good at doing that. Something really weird happens. We can go and get a land and lightning bolt here. But just making sure we have our colours is important. Alright, I didn't want a Pyroblast. We get crashed in for 2 here. A Simian Spirit Guide. Alright. That's not really how our opponent wanted this game to go. This turn we play out the Badlands. Hold up Lightning Bolt or Orcish Bowmasters, depending on whichever is better. So we can Bowmasters in and kill the Shaman token. And then we can Kolaghan's Command away their Fable and Mirror Breaker next turn. Before it gets to start copying things. We're going to get our basic island. Deploy your friend and mine, Orcish Bowmasters. Goodbye. Shaman tokens, that's going to stop them getting more mana, so it's going to be a one-shot with all these treasure tokens. Just a bauble. That's not very impressive. Trying to take the card out of our opponent's hand doesn't seem good here. I think we will just Kolaghan's Command now, so destroy artifact, 2 damage. So we'll take out their Chrome Mox, and we will kill their Reflection of Kikijiki. I'm not blocking with his Bowmasters here, so we are attacking. So they have a disappearing land and 2 disappearing treasure tokens. And in a couple of turns we get to Snapcaster Kolaghan's Command again. Broadside Bombardiers. Okay. Would you like to kill my Orcish Bowmaster? I don't think they would. I think they're just going to attack here. They might go face with a Vexing Bauble though. Just get 3 damage out of it. If they put any damage on our Orcish Bowmasters, then we're absolutely laughing. It's not really where our opponents should be expending their resources. Yep, they've gone to the face, as expected. So we will Lightning Bolt this guy. I think we might as well have ourselves a little Death Touch blocker. Doesn't hurt here. I think that's more efficient than holding up our removal there. Maybe we should have played this first, actually. In case you draw something, we can leave up a different land. So we could draw a Ponder here and be unable to cast it. It's a little bit loose there because time is ticking on in this round. I'm going to make sure that I play at a decent enough pace. But yeah, we should have cast this first, just to get slightly more information. Alright, it didn't matter in the end. I figure the things we're going to want to cast are going to be removal spells for the most part, rather than a Ponder here. But I would definitely cast a Ponder if we drew one, so it was just an objective misstep, I would say. We've got a long way to go before our opponent's dead. But they're not big in the old resource department. If our Baleful Strix blocks, then we can bring it back with the Kolaghan's command. Right, they're in the sacrificing Vexing Bauble stage of the game. I will ping our opponent here. Our creature already kills their creature anyway. Have an additional body, a little bit of damage to the face. Dead. On our poor defenseless Baleful Strix. Do I take 2 here? That leaves us pretty dead to some amount of things our opponents can have. I think we will block. Don't feel great about that. Our opponent's not exactly in the big resource department, and our life total is the main way our opponents can win this one. Okay, so we can attack with this. Let's do some ninjutsu things. Here we go. Bam. I think we'll surveil. I like both these cards, actually. And then, because we like both these cards, we're going to play the Swamp. And we've got access to an Orcish Bowmasters, which can jump in and mess with this Spirit Guide. Are they going to attack us or Kaito? They should probably attack us, but it's not great for them. Our opponent is attacking us. I think we have done enough. Alright, our opponent's had enough, and we take away the match. Alright, let's go to round 2. We are very susceptible to a Wasteland with this hand. Very susceptible indeed. But we are on the draw, so we have more chance of hitting lands. We have a little bit of protection in the Force of Will. I am going to keep this under the full knowledge that we can just get croaked by some Wastelands. But if our opponent is doing Reanimator stuff, then we might be okay here. Nether Goyf. Cling to Dust can manage that one. I don't think that's where I want to be fighting. A Brainstorm, not the one. Alright, Undercity Sewers, find us. I don't think we need a Force of Will here. If our opponent's got a Wasteland, this can obviously be an unpleasant situation for us to find ourselves in. Ponder. Are they digging for it? They did not find the Wasteland. Excellent. They also did not shuffle off that Ponder. We take 2 from there, the Goyf. Like I said, we can manage this with a Cling to Dust if we need to. Is this a turn we want to Brainstorm before our opponent has access to something like an Orcish Bowmasters? I believe it is. You can also find us a better land to play. Alright, we're getting a Daze on this one. Sure. Our opponent had the read that we maybe were struggling with lands because we played this Undercity Sewers out on 1. But we do still have another land. And they didn't play a Wasteland last turn, so I have to imagine that we're getting at least something out of our next turn. Because they kept on top with the Ponder. Unless they crack this, and then they have a random chance at finding a Wasteland. Alright, we're going to take a little bit more damage from this Nether Goyf. Not the one we wanted, if I'm being perfectly honest here. I think I'm going to cast a Ponder. Okay. I like these cards. Not too keen on the Nimble Obstructionist. I think we have to prioritise getting a land drop. So in an ideal world, we won't have to crack this. And then we can play the Baleful Strix. And then things go a little bit better for us. Right, in comes the Nether Goyf. So now we can draw this Baleful Strix. Do I think our opponent's going to have a Stifle here? I hope not. I don't think we have a choice to play around this though. Okay, so we've already got an Undercity Sewer, so I think we just get an Underground Sea here. And just stack up so we can't be wastelanded off of these colours. An Orcish Bowmasters, you say? Do I want this Orcish Bowmasters in my life? I don't think I do. I think we're going to get rid of this Ponder because we can always just make the big eyeball afterwards. We can play around a Daze here. Uh-oh. What's happening here? Is it brainstorming for Daze? No. It has to be brainstorming for Force, which is a lot less likely to work. They did find the Force. So this isn't going to go amazingly for us. If you haven't seen this interaction before. Wait, no. Wait, they didn't find the Force. Alright. I was sure they had found it. But nope, they did not. Okay, so we can play a land here. We can get our Orcish Bowmasters out. We can curtail their graveyard with the Cling to Dust. Alright, that exchange went very well for us. Alright, I just thought they had the Force there. Ponder, that's fine. Now they have a Bowmaster. Shot, but we get to play the second Bowmaster, which is a better place to be. Do we need to chump block this? I think maybe we do. And if they burn a Daze on this, we're more likely to get what we need going forward. Doesn't matter what land we get here. Probably not. Obviously, it makes a difference. But if we get Badlands, that allows us to Kolaghan's Command and cast a lightning bolt if we find one. Can I Bowmasters, please? Right, so that's a daze that's not going to be pointed at us next turn. It's getting a bit tight over there. We can always cling to dust away their Orcish Bowmasters, and that gives us, well, that gives them a smaller creature and us 3 life to work with, which is not the worst. A swamp. We could kill the Bowmasters and replay the Baleful Strix, but this is going to be 2 bodies, so I think that's going to be better. Let's get the big eyeballs going. Alright, so we get to do some Oculusing. I think I'd rather have this. It doesn't really matter actually, does it? Whichever one goes in the graveyard goes in the graveyard. Alright, let's see what happens here. Attacking us with some guys and doing a Brainstorm, so their guy doesn't die. Reasonable. So they're going to flip their Tamiyo, which can be a problem for us. But that's just something we have to work out. Oh, they've got a go for the throat. That's certainly on the awkward side, isn't it? We can't draw into a force here. Can't really do an awful lot. I guess we have to send this onto the bus. Do I want to draw a card? Is there a way we can draw a card and shrink their guy? There is. No, there isn't. There's no way that we get to do that. Okay, so I think we just... I think we need the life buffer here. So we'll shrink the guy and gain a life. Or 3 life even. Okay. That's something. A lightning bolt. We can... Kolaghan's Command here. So we can deal 2 damage to a creature. So we get back our... I think it's the Baleful Strix here. And we put 2 damage on this Bowmasters. And then... we try not to get dazed. Did not get dazed. Oh, what is this? A Fatal Push. Okay. A blank piece of cardboard. Now, cracking a clue. Getting back a Brainstorm. Bashing us down to 3. Well, well, well. That is a pretty good draw, isn't it? And they had a Force of Will. Ah, so close. All right. So this is a fair matchup. We don't want to be doing 2-for-1s with things like Force of Will. We want to be having our Pyroblasts in to deal with Tamiyos and whatnot. Fatal Pushes, kill their guys nicely. Barragoyf, it's just a big house. Metamorphosis Fanatic is reasonable. The Spell Bomb is a cantrip that does stuff. I'm not big into Thoughtseize. I just want to answer stuff when it's on the board for the most part. What are we looking at that we don't require? The Nimble Obstructionist isn't something that I'm massively excited about here, so we can probably trim that one away. I like the Snapcasters. Our own Tamiyo is handy. The bolts are fine. The Oculus is like our big threat. The Baleful Strix is sometimes going to be awkward for us, but I think that's okay. What is the other cut then? Like the Narset shuts down a bunch of their stuff. We should be good in this matchup because we are just a little bit bigger than they are. Do we need these 2 Cling to Dusts? They are kind of an interesting engine actually in this matchup. They're not amazing, but they are an interesting enough engine. I like the Spell Bomb just to be able to wipe the whole graveyard and say no, let's just not be into that. So what is the cut here? I don't think I want to mess with our win conditions anymore. Trimming a Ponder. We just have more hits in our deck. We've got a cantrip in the Spell Bomb, which does other stuff at the same time. Okay. We don't have an island, but we can get on when the time is right. Okay, on the play I don't mind having a Baleful Strix and then see how it sort of pans out after that. We'll get the island on turn 2 with the Bloodstained Mire. That way we can't be wastelanded. Alternatively, we lead off with the Bloodstained Mire here. We can go get Undercity Sewers if we need to. Or if we want to, I should say. Start filling our graveyard, get that Oculus up and running. Start probably making a threat. Another Ghost, most likely. A Thoughtseize. Our hand is relatively Thoughtseize proof. Got a couple of Baleful Strix, sure, but then we have a removal spell that they're possibly going to take it. Okay, they don't want to play against the Baleful Strix. That is a positive sign for us. we're going to crack this and get the Undercity Sewers. We need to get a blue source anyway. Another island. Do I want another island here? It stops us being wastelanded off. Maybe that's a little bit conservative and cautious, but I think that's fine enough. We'll leave this island as a surprise for our opponent. We don't have to worry about days because our opponent doesn't have an island. Alright, an Orcish Bowmasters. That can blow up our opponent's Bowmasters when the time comes. Or it can maybe mess with them trying to do a Brainstorm Tamiyo type thing. A Nile Spellbomb, sure. And this is why we kept the island, and we are incredibly rewarded for it. So we'll attack for 1 here. Do I want to hold up a Bowmasters? Not really. I think we're better off just getting this ponder going. Lightning Bolt is of mixed quality here, but I think it's fine enough. And then we have the land underneath, which can then shuffle the second land, so we're not going to want all of those lands. A Tamiyo. That dies to a Lightning Bolt. Things are lining up A-OK for us so far. I don't believe our opponent's going to block here, but we can at least see if they want to. I think we're going to get Badlands here. We do want to shuffle the top card of our library. We do this now where our opponent can't do any brainstorming. Alright. So holding up removal. I don't want to add the Bowmasters as a clock this turn. I think it's better as a reactive removal spell. Not another wasteland for our opponent. And they're brainstorming before playing a land, which suggests to me that they don't have a wasteland as part of their plan for this match. Or for this particular board state or whatever. Or they've just got so many cards in hand they don't want. A Psychic Frog. Sure. Do I want our opponent to be able to untap and do some Psychic Frog stuff? They're going to have to spend removal on our Baleful Strix, which doesn't feel good, generally speaking. So let's see if we can make our opponent fight on their turn. Makes it easier for us to resolve a Baragoyf. The Long Goodbye. Sure. Let's see if our opponent wants to spam any cards into this. Sacrifice a non-token creature, please. Right, we just cleared that. I think they would defend it with a daze if they could. So I think we've got a clear runway to drop the Baragoyf. To start doing disgusting Baragoyf things. We have a very large creature here. We've got some nice things to interact with on the board as well, if our opponent does. Alright, they're going to kill our guy. Do you know what we can do though? We can Kolaghan's Command it back. Psychic Frog, sure. That is a harder one to interact with. Or not, I suppose. Because they can drop a land and do a hardcast Force of Will, we want to cast this before our opponent has 5 lands. Give us a Kolaghan's Command target. Not a big lover of this one. Let's turn target creature and target player discards a card. So I would like to get back the Baragoyf, and I would like you to discard a card. There's an Undercity Sewers going on. A Daze. Discard their Undercity Sewers. Don't understand that play, really. Because they lost the Daze and the Undercity Sewers. Gave us a 2-for-1. Now we just get to drop this Baragoyf. I can play this land, which gives us access to a Surveil land, as well as the ability... Oh no, we've already used our Surveil land, haven't we? So it gives us the ability to play the Bowmasters around a Daze, if that's the thing we want to do. But our opponent can't re-attack us with a Nethergoyf, because it will never beat our Baragoyf in combat. And we can always attack, because we'll always beat theirs. A Petty Theft. Yeah, that's a slightly annoying one. We can afford to take 5, though. Because we've got a big lifelink we're about to drop. And then when they play this Brazen Borrower at some point, we can just ping it down with the Bowmasters. Let's ponder when we know there's no Bowmasters on the other side. I'll take the Brainstorm. I'll cash this in for an Underground Sea. And get a little bit of... I want to Brainstorm now because our opponent has access to... Oh my lord, that's a bunch of good cards, isn't it? Okay. I guess we'll put these 2 on top. And then I will just... I guess we don't need to kill the Nethergoyf right now. It can't attack unless they remove our creature. If they remove our creature, then we can use our Fatal Push. I'd rather say this sound like a frog that can jump and actually start doing stuff. Let's bash with the Baragoyf. An Orcish Bowmasters or a Brazen Borrower. We have another Orcish Bowmasters about to hit. I'll just take more direct damage, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we nearly have our opponent dead. And they know they can't play this Borrower unless they just want to work through our Bowmasters. Yeah. I thought so, opponent. They're going to have to... I'll play this Bowmasters out now. We have lethal damage. We may as well just leverage that, get this game over and done with, and try and win the next one in 9 minutes or whatever it is. A fatal push. Because now they might play the Borrower thinking we don't have a... How much is this to escape? 3. Sure, we'll take the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if we just deploy this guy... Our opponent's got no cards in hand. Ping them again. That's 4 damage. So they're on 6 now. They can't block with Brazen Borrower. We can finish them off with Kolaghan's Command, burning to the face. Easy money. Get back my Barragoyf. Doesn't really matter here because they're about to die. To the dome. Yeah, so our deck is a lot more removal dense and is built on interacting with like slightly bigger threats as well. Like the Barragoyf and delaying stuff like the Baleful Strix, which is really awkward for them to deal with. I think we just go in again. I don't think we can keep this one. It loses to a single wasteland. Alright, this one does not. We don't have all the red things we would like to have. The bolt is more flexible than the Pyroblast. I think we'll keep the bolt. Our opponent's on the play, so the dazes they can leverage will be annoying. We're going to get Thoughtseized here. Just another Goyf. I don't really want to get dazed. It's acceptable if they daze our Tamiyo. This isn't a big part of our game plan. Okay. So we're in with a Tamiyo. We have the ability to Gnarl Spellbomb away our opponent's graveyard. A Thoughtseize. Alright. Alright, they're going to attack us. They're going to play another land. No. So their hand must have some amount of interaction, is what you're telling me. So I think we're going for playing the Swamp out. We'll attack with a Tamiyo. We've already made our land, but we can draw a card right now before our opponent gets to do Bowmaster stuff. I think that is worth it. Alright, Cling to Dust. Another way to manage this Nethergoyf. Not that we really needed one, but maybe we can kill the Nethergoyf and exile it from the graveyard. A Fatal Push. Sure. Got another land yet, opponent? Or not? Seems like no. Okay. So they've got a hand full of spells. Is a Gnarl Spellbomb the sort of spell that they don't want us to have? Alright, so we can shrink their Nethergoyf and draw a card. It's a little bit awkward if they play a land here. Alright, because they can Bowmasters now. Alright, they're just playing a Gnarl Spellbomb of their own. I'm just going to fire this off straight away. Our opponent can then crack the Gnarl Spellbomb back to deal us 1 damage. Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. But we've made another land drop, which is what we want to be able to do. We don't have enough cards to do any Oculus stuff. But we can exile this and draw another card before the Bowmasters comes online. Or we can also just Brainstorm. That's pretty good, isn't it? Lots of sweet options here. So the Oculus is not something we're doing. We might want to put this Metamorphosis Fanatic into play. So it's not amazing, but it's fine. Alright, I think we will leverage a Lightning Bolt here. Just get this gone. And then we can exile this if our opponent has enough. They need to have 4 types in there to get it back, so it's going to be a while. Barragoyf. That is not the easiest one to remove, is it? Let us cling this Gnarl Spellbomb out. That lets us draw a card. Because we need to dig a little deeper now. Exile our opponent's graveyard so that our Snapcaster can kill their Barragoyf. Believe that is the plan here. Alright, Snapcaster, it's your time. There's a Lightning Bolt. If they have a removal spell here. Orcish Bowmasters. Okay, we at least get to kill the Bowmasters. That's far better than if they just had like any removal spell. We at least get to clean up the body so our cantrips work. Alright, so this Barragoyf is going to grow itself most likely. We've got 5 minutes left on our clock. And they're getting a Psychic Frog back. Yikes. Okay. We do have a Pyroblast. I know they got the Borrower back. They just want the utility. Sure. Sure. Let's miracle this in. Get back our Snapcaster Mage. Get back this Brainstorm. Cast this Brainstorm. Okay. I like what I'm seeing here. I think we chuck the Fanatic back into the deck for now. And one of the... is it the Oculus? The Oculus has got to go here, surely. Okay, so we can go and get ourselves another red source. So, Volcanic's probably the correct one here. We can deploy this Bowmasters, ping down their Orc army. This means that our Sheoldred's Edict is much more likely to kill their Barragoyf. We can always try and trade this Metamorphosis, but what are they going to bounce here, right, with their Borrower? If they bounce on Snapcaster, then we get to do two things. Right? They're just going to cut our Fanatic. Am I blocking here? I don't think so. They hit a creature. It's obviously irritating. They did not hit a creature. A Tamiyo. Sure. So we have a blue blast for red blast for this, and then we can Sheoldred's Edict, and then we stabilized. Opponent's still got 4 cards in hand, which is more than us. I think we just lightning bolt this while we can, because the red blast might be more useful down the line. Sacrifice a non-token creature. Start getting some life again. Is this better to me as a Surveil land? I think it is. We have 6 drops in our deck, like the Metamorphosis Fanatic, that we can draw. Another Barragoyf, sure. Not the friendliest, is it? Alright, let's go and dig for some more removal. Undercity Sewers, what can you find? A Brainstorm. Yes, that is an above average draw. Come on, deck. Fatal Push works if one of our creatures dies. We can ping our own Bowmasters if we need to. Our opponent's got a Kolaghan's Command. Sorry, not Kolaghan's Command. Yeah, our opponent's got 4 cards in hand. How are we going to go about doing this? I think we just have to pass and try and block. And then that'll give us Revolt for our Fatal Push. We haven't got the longest amount of time to win this one. And our opponent's got so many cards in hand. A Psychic Frog. Yeah, it's annoying. The Barragoyf out now. Kolaghan's Command on top. It does give us enough damage to maybe finish us off, but they can then jump it and do some annoying stuff that way. I don't think we're attacking here. So we can Kolaghan's Command. So block with our Snapcaster if we get given the choice. This isn't great for us, is it? So we will return target creature card from my graveyard to hand. Target player discards a card. So we'll get back this Fanatic. And they can discard a card. So they might just go all in on the Frog. Or they discard another Goyf. Sure, you can certainly get that one back. There's a Frog. Let's drop the Bowmasters. So at least we're going to get 2 pings off of their card draw. We haven't got the most amount of seconds left on this one. Can't block. I'll ping them down. So we've got 7 power. Plus we can make a Metamorphosis Fanatic if we want to. Petty Theft on this. Counter target blue spell. Get out of here. So we can F6 for our opponent's turn. We got 2 attack steps to try and win the game. That's more or less what this is going to come down to, I reckon. Is the Frog on blocks. The long goodbye. Sure. The quickest of goodbyes, in fact. Another Psychic Frog. Okay, are they going to attack with 1 and let us grow our army? Or are they back on blocks with 2/2/3s? This trades with a Frog. So the sort of card our opponent might have that they haven't played out would be something like a Daze. So I'm going to play this land out and then play our Fanatic. I'm just taking it, are they? Right, now we can have 6. 40 seconds. Close. The old Murktide Regent's pretty good there, isn't it? Okay. Bit yikes for us. What have you got, Dick? Baleful Strix. That's a good one. Pyroblast, please. Oh my lord. Destroy target opponent if it's blue. What a draw. Going to trade with the Orc army here. 15 seconds left on our clock. Opponent's on 4. We don't have time to resolve miracle triggers. We win this game. If we had the time, we would have cast this Metamorphosis Fanatic and Pyroblasted their guy out of the way, and we would have been okay. But we just didn't have the time. We just had to click through and hope they didn't have it. So this is a win for the deck, but not for us. That is unfortunate. We're playing a little bit slowly, but I also had to go and sort something else out for a couple of minutes, and that ended up costing us. All right, that's 2 rounds in the bag. Let's go to round 3. Yeah, we can go island cycling, I suppose. There's a lot of attractive propositions here, and our opponent is Tony Scarponi, who I only saw after I accepted the hand, because I tend not to try and look at deck names to get a little edge when we're just playing little leagues. Alright, just a mountain. We're looking at Ruby Storm, maybe? Let's go island cycling. So we want a blue source here. I think an island is fine. So whilst Tony Scarponi is famous for playing Storm decks, he also likes playing fun little sort of tempo-y, Bernie style decks as well. Mountain. Rite of Flame. Jeska's Will. So like we could play an Orcish Bowmasters, but against a basic mountain, and if they're playing Ruby Storm, they don't actually draw the cards. So it's not necessarily going to do that much work here. Ren's Resolve. Desperate Ritual. Jeska's Will. So they can make some more mana if they need to. Quite a lot of mana. We'll see if they've got any payoffs in their hand. I imagine they have to have something if they're going here. We have to at least give him the illusion that we've got something here. Alright, they've gone Big Mana Town. Burning Wish, 6 mana floating. So this could be a Reforge the Soul, or it could just be Inspired Tinkering. Get some cards and treasure. Bonus round. Well, that's likely worse for us, because now everything does more. So we're getting Metamorphosed on. Erectus Impulse. Let's see what these cards are. More mana. Ooh, that was a bit of a bad one. Just the 1 Desperate Ritual there. Metamorphose being 2 mana, draw 2 cards, add 4 mana to your pool is quite the Magic the Gathering spell. Ah, and they're done. Somehow we get there. So what is our solution to the problem that has been posed? It's probably try and get our opponent dead as quickly as possible. I think that's better than fishing for a... we could try and fish for a Force of Will. But the Ruby Storm decks are famously very good about ignoring Force of Wills. And the Kaito can dig a similar amount, but also apply pressure. Graveyard. And we drew a bit of a nothing there. Alright. Alright, they're scooping it up because their deck failed due to absolutely nothing that we did on our part. Love to see it. Consigned Memory has some useful text here. The Surgical Extractions do something, not a lot, but they do something, and the Thoughtseize are obviously pretty great here. Cling to Dust sometimes does stuff here if they're doing like a Past in Flames line. So, sorry, we'll keep the Thoughtseize in. Fanatic is a little bit slow. So we can probably trim that one there. The Narset might be useful. It's also a blue card. The Nimble Obstructionist, very good. Snapcaster. The Bowmasters are unlikely to do anything. They'll maybe clip a little bit into our opponent if they're doing like Metamorphose style stuff. Doesn't seem incredible. So the Lightning Bolt kills Bergie, and Ral, which is basically the only creatures that we care about that our opponent has. So I don't think we need the Sheoldred's Edict here. How much time are we going to have to do pondering stuff? Some. I like the Snapcaster a lot here. The Oculus will kill our opponent quickly, but I don't know if we're going to have the cards in the graveyard, so I think that just goes. I like the Bowmasters. They're a flash threat as well. Tamiyo is also a thing that we can just stick and it will start doing the things that it does. Baleful Strix is probably the weak link here. We just got to sit back on our stuff. Going shields down to play it might be a bit scary. We have a Force of Will. We can then surgical some stuff which may be useful. We also have a Consigned to Memory, which can deal with our opponent's Storm trigger. Let's find some more land at some point. So we can go and get an Undercity Sewers and try and scry. Alright, a Burning Wish. Are we supposed to answer the Burning Wish here? I don't think so. This could be like an Overmaster. Bonus round. Okay. I think I'm going to get the Undercity Sewers. See if we can find a land. I like the Tamiyo, but it's not where I want to be here, unfortunately. We are just looking for the land. We found the land. Excellent. So now we can hold up the Bowmasters for our opponent's end of turn. Alternatively, we have Consign to Memory and Force of Will. We're going to see Bergie, a Seething Song. Okay. A bonus round. I will say no to the bonus round. A Rite of Flame. Sure. Another Rite of Flame. Our opponent's got 2 cards in hand. This will put them up to 4/5 mana. I think we let that go. Maybe we're supposed to Surgical to stop them getting more mana. A Past in Flames. Okay. Target this Rite of Flame. So they're going to Past in Flames here with 1 mana floating. So they're not going to be able to do either of the things they have going on here. So this can just resolve. And then they're going to cast this Burning Wish. And they can get something. Inspired Tinkering. Sure. Let's just get some pressure going. Let's attack. Let's cling to Justice. Past in Flames. We did not find another land, but we still have this Consign to Memory, which can do a little bit of work. I'm just going to hard cast this Inspired Tinkering. What do they find here? Bonus round, Ren's Resolve, Metamorphosis. They can cast those next turn. A Surgical Extraction. Doesn't really help us out here, does it? Because these aren't in their hand anyway. So I guess we're attacking. I will Cling to Dust. A Seething Song. Found a land. So we can start aiming some Lightning Bolts at our opponent's dome. A bonus round. Sure. So our Lightning Bolt deals 6 damage. If they bonus round again, then our Lightning Bolt will deal lethal damage. If they draw 1 more card, we get to deal lethal damage with our Lightning Bolt. It's not the line we envisioned for this game, but I will certainly take it if our opponent draws 1 more card. A Ruby Medallion. Sure. We're just trying to get our opponent to draw 1 more card, weirdly. Seething Song. And Desperate Ritual, Ren's Resolve. These are not Metamorphose. Alright, Ren's Resolve. Find us a Metamorphose. Come on. A Past in Flames. A Reckless Impulse. A Ral Monsoon Sage. Alright, they're just Desperate Ritualing. Gaining loads and loads of mana now. Hopefully they'll cast a Past in Flames and then we can just get them. 22 mana is a lot of mana, isn't it? A Past in Flames. I'm going to exile their Ren's Resolves. Force them into a Metamorphose line is the plan. And this one is going to target... we don't mind if they cast a bonus round. So I guess we target the Reckless Impulse here. So get rid of these Impulses. Then we get rid of Ren's Resolves. There is a Metamorphose in our opponent's hand. The plan is to bait our opponent to cast one. Bonus round. So now our Lightning Bolts are lethal anyway. Let's put a load of Lightning Bolts on. Alright, we got the game. We did not deserve to win the first one, but we got the second one with some interesting plays and being able to copy our own stuff with the old bonus round, forcing our opponent into, you know, lines where they're going to need to do something else. Because if we didn't take those cards out, they could just, with all the mana they have, they could just, you know, keep doing all the Ren's Resolve type stuff, and then we never actually get an opportunity to deal enough damage. But by making them put like the bonus rounds on so they can get more cards off Metamorphose, we managed to work our way in. Alright, 3 rounds in. The deck should be 3-0, but we are 2-1 because I ran out of time in the last round, in the previous round. So let's go to round 4. Alright, we're into round 4. We've got Island Ponder. That's not a bad place to be. We have a lot of lands, but we're a control deck, so we want to be making land drops. So I think we will keep this one. More land drops just means more Ponders that we get to cast and cantrip into the spells we're looking for. A Cabal Ritual. Are we just going to be dead on turn 1? It's certainly possible. Necrodominance. Alright, here we go. So our opponent's deck has a fail rate. Let's see if they hit it. They're going to pay 19 life here and then probably exile a bunch of Spirit Guides and all that sort of jazz. Right, they've gone to 1 life. Exiling some Spirit Guides. Alright, Metamorphose. They're going straight into blue mana here. So that allows them to cast Born Upon a Wind, which means they can play all their spells at instant speed. So they can play all of their artifact mana out as well as their actual win condition, which is the Tendrils of Agony. Right, another Metamorphose. They might not have access to the spells they need, so if they can't find a Born Upon a Wind, that is lights out. Alright, so they got a Born Upon a Wind. They still need to have the Tendrils here, and they might have to use a Valakut Awakening to shuffle a bunch of cards from there. Alright, they're unmasking us. Well, sure, you can see our Bowmasters. Getting a little bit of extra information there. If I hadn't have F6 for this turn, I probably would have conceded in response to the unmask. Alright, Beseech the Mirror, this goes and finds the Tendrils, and that will put it on the stack and win the game. Sure. Okay, so this is a matchup where we would like some things like the Consign to Memory, the Thought Seizes are also useful here. Surgical doesn't really do very much. Pyroblast and Red Blast, on the face of it, seem like they might be a useful thing to do. But they're not ideal. We don't need Cling to Dust. So the reason they're not ideal is if we try and counter Born Upon a Wind, they're going to have the whole deck in their hand at that point anyway. So it's not going to do anything. We don't get to counter anything until they've drawn their 19 cards, basically. The one thing this might interact with is our opponent's Force of Negation. That is the one thing we might be able to get out of the blast. We don't need a Metamorphosis Fanatic. We don't really need win conditions that much. We just need ways of disrupting our opponent. So would I like these Pyroblasts on the off chance that we can counterspell a some negation? Is that worth it for us? We could try the counterspell their Necrodominance and Surgic Extractor, but the chances are they're not going to be able to win if we counter their first spell anyway. So we need to take out a couple of bolts here and put in a couple of blasts. I don't think the blasts are very good here at all, but we may as well have them. They don't use the graveyard, so there's no point bringing in graveyard hate. Consign to Memory. That buys us a turn. They've already shown us that they're going to be able to draw into some hand disruptions, so the Consign to Memory is not going to stop their Storm trigger. It's going to stop their Necrodominance trigger, and that's not really good enough. So mulligan, we're looking for Thought Seizes and Forces here. Alternatively, we can mulligan into no lands at all. And again, sure. Okay, so this hand is actually alright. We get to keep this. So we will have Thoughtseize and 2 lands. I think that's better than Thoughtseize and keeping the Ponder here. Oh yeah, we get to keep the Ponder as well, right? The Oculus is not really going to work for us for a while. So we go and get an Underground Sea, I think, here. We mainly want to be indexing into blue mana for this matchup. So let's just try and poke a hole. They got 7 card hands, so the chance of them being able to kill us are quite high. Alright, we take the Necrodominance since it's the only thing we care about here. There are definitely lines where you can try and take some of the mana or whatever, but just get rid of the card that they need to have to win, because the other copies of it might be so far in their deck that they just can't win the game. And maybe we can ponder our way to victory. Alright, ponder. Another Thoughtseize. I like all of these cards. So I think we are... How much is it for the Nimble Obstructionist? That's 3 mana, isn't it? Right, we'll put the Consign into our hand. And be ready to go with a Consign. That can buy us another turn. If our opponent drops the Necrodominance. But we can't really remove enchantments. So this is a certain weakness of Grixis. So our opponent does not have a Necrodominance in hand, otherwise he would have cast it last turn. So that is one thing to note, but I think we'll still take a peek at what our opponent's doing. Unmask, a Chrome Mox, a Lotus Petal. So we're probably looking at just restricting their ability to make black mana here. So I think we just get rid of the Lotus Petal because that's a guaranteed piece of black mana. And then we can also consign to memory the Chrome Mox if our opponent tries that. Because we've been hitting them with discard, they might be inclined to play out some artifact mana. Okay, so we can hold up the Nimble Obstructionist as a threat, or we can have the consign to memory. But I would like to consign to memory the Chrome Mox if possible, just to keep them off of black mana. Valakut Awakening. Alright, so they're going to be shuffling the hand up a bunch, so we don't know what information to have here. So they put some cards on the bottom and then draw that many cards plus 1. I think they put 4 cards. Yes. No, they put 3 cards and then drew 1. Sure. And now we go to our opponent's turn. Did they find what they're looking for? A Metamorphose. This gives them black, gives them a chance at playing the Necrodominance right now. We can buy a turn with the Consign or... Alright, so they're trying to get us with an Unmask. So I'm just going to put a threat into play here. We don't really have much other choice. So our opponent might just be able to flat out win the game here. A Valakut Awakening. Okay, so they're not winning this turn. Or it's very unlikely they win this turn. And now we can start reducing the amount of cards they draw if they do find a Necrodominance. There is an argument for when we're Thought Seizing to hit the Valakut Awakenings, so that our opponent has less draws to find the Necrodominance. That's also fine too. This can be a Surveil land. Let's crash for 3. A Lotus Petal. So they know we're shields down because we've got no cards in hand. A Narset Part Reveals. That is exceptionally good on this board. A Brainstorm. A Force of Will. Like the Force of Will does nothing this turn, so I think we take the Brainstorm. So Narset stops their actual combo from working because they can't draw the extra cards. They can still attempt to put their Necrodominance into play though for later. But then they're not going to be drawing any cards. So, alright, so our opponent has decided they need to get the beat in with the Spirit Guide here. So that can stop us from cracking the Narset. So if we -2 this, then they'll kill it with the Spirit Guide if we're going to continue attacking. I think we probably are going to continue attacking. A Force of Will is certainly an interesting one there, isn't it? Depends if you've got 4 cards in hand. Let's just keep cracking away. We can use the Narset to stop them for another turn. That means that if they somehow manage to find a way through the Force of Will in our hand, they're going to have so little life that it might be difficult for them to work with. Yep, coming at the Narset. If we find another blue card, we can do Brainstorming and see if we can find some new action. A Chrome Mox. Sure. Another Elvish Spirit Guide. Sure. So our plan still works here. A Lightning Bolt. Honestly, not the worst. That's 3 more life our opponent has to do without. It should also be noted that you can't just Lightning Bolt your opponent after they've drawn a bunch of cards with Necrodominance, because their whole deck is designed to play things at instant speed. So they're just going to be able to get through. So we can cast a Necrodominance here. It will be into our counterspell. They're both at Narset correctly. A Valakut Awakening. I will Lightning Bolt in case we draw another Lightning Bolt. Then we can just wrap this game up. To the Dome. They're not going to be able to draw many cards with their Necrodominance, that's for sure. Yep, our opponent agrees. Okay, we just need to do the same thing again, but this time on the draw. A little bit trickier. Alright, maybe we want a Meltdown in here. Maybe the Meltdown is better than the Red Blast. I don't want to cut any blue cards at this point. Yeah, I'll try a Meltdown. I do like the Lightning Bolts just to reduce our opponent's life total, though. As weird as that sounds. Right, we'll try it like this. We have a Thoughtseize we can't leverage. Our opponent is a turn 1 combo deck. If we had a black land, we could maybe consider this, but we don't, so this is going right back. Force of Will is fine. That gets us to another turn. The Bowmasters doesn't do the things you would think it would do against this deck. Okay, so we have 2 lands. I guess we can... We need to get 2 blue sources so we can cast a Narset if we end up in that sort of situation. I think we'll bin off the Badlands. So it's force pitching Baleful Strix, try and work up to Narset on the door. Now if our opponent has protection for their turn 1 kill, then we will lose the game. And that is the nature of these decks. Metamorphose using a Spirit Guide. Is this going to make black? I would imagine so. There it is. There's a Lotus Petal. Looks like an Elvish Spirit Guide. Beseech the Mirror. So I think we let this... Do we let this Beseech the Mirror resolve? If we let the Beseech the Mirror resolve, then counter the thing that comes out of it, that's less copies of it in their deck to draw to. I think that makes more sense. Our opponent's got 1 card. It was Pact of Negation, we lose the game. It was not Pact of Negation. Okay, so our chances of winning this game are quite high now. So our opponent is coming back with no resources, really. So we can go and get Surveil land on our opponent's turn. Then we can drop the Orcish Bowmasters, start whittling away our opponent's life total, and then turn after we drop the Narset. That should be lights out. Let's have a little bit of selection, please, deck. A Thoughtseize. It's pretty good. Is it better than playing the Bowmasters here? Our opponent needs 3 cards to go off. They need Starting Mana Source, Dark Ritual, Necrodominance. So there is a possibility our opponent goes off next turn. But I think if we get the clock in play and then we can start doing Thoughtseize or Narset stuff, I think our original plan is better here. The chances of our opponent just being able to go off next turn are very low, as you can see. So this gives us, or it gives our opponent fewer draw steps in the long run. We just have 1 slightly dodgy turn, but then every turn we go, our opponent's combo is less likely to work. We'll save the fetch land for if we want to do anything with a Brainstorm down the road. Let's get this Narset going. Brainstorm is nice. Alright, our opponent's had enough. We've got a nice selection of things in play. And that is the end of that one. So that's 4 rounds in the book now. And we're 3-1, and the one we lost was because we ran out of time. We were going to win that game if I played a little bit faster and didn't have to deal with something while I was doing it. Alright, let's go to the final round, see if we can get the 4-1/fake trophy. We're on the play for the final round. We've got some Island Ponder action. I will keep this. So we can play on all basics here as well, which is beautiful. We love to see it. If we cast this Ponder, we do go shields down on our Force of Will. That is the one issue here. I think because we have land drops and interaction and a threat, we don't need to Ponder for anything here and go shields down on the Force. We can just have Force around days ready in case our opponent's doing something busted we need to interact with. This is where they Thoughtseize us, and that feels like a horrible play because we don't get to Ponder and have a look at something nice. What flavour of Thoughtseize deck is my opponent playing? Are we comboing? Are we... Alright, they took the Ponder. Sure. At this stage, we're looking for a blue card. So I think we are cracking this and getting the Undersea Sewers. Which means this Polluted Delta is probably getting us a... Oh, look at that. Which means this Polluted Delta is probably getting us a Underground Sea as well. And I will play out this Polluted Delta. We have some interaction. We kept the card on top, so our opponent is pretty sure that we have a blue card over there. Shatter Skull. Interesting combination. Do I want this Vexing Bauble? I think if it's the choice of them having a Vexing Bauble or us having a Ponder, that's basically the choice here. And I think I would rather have a Ponder. Absolutely rewarded for that play because they had another one. Yeah, if we draw more Force of Wills, it can look a bit awkward. But we've got a clock going now. And we're going to be pondering into some more action, hopefully. So a black-red Vexing Bauble deck is not the sort of deck I imagine is going to be big on stuff we want to Orcish Bowmasters. I'm going to take this Kolaghan's command. Oh, wait, no, sorry. This isn't a Narset. What am I doing? Oh, no, I've stacked this wrong now, haven't I? Resolving a Narset. That's awkward. Okay, I'm going to shuffle these. And somehow rewarded. I'll take it. I think we just get... do we get a swamp here? We get an island, and then we can just play around Blood Moon a lot easier. That's a thing. Sure. Blue and black. Borrower's fine. It's just more pressure. That's what we need to do here. We don't really know what our opponent's up to. They're cracking the baubles, giving us some free Bowmaster damage. If they crack the other one, that turns on our Force of Will. A Dalthy Voidwalker. Sure. We do not care about that. I'm not really sure what's in our opponent's deck here. So we can attack with all of our friends. So this is 4 damage. So we have our opponent dead next turn with this Brazen Borrower. So we don't really need to act. The Dalthy Voidwalker is not doing anything here. It can chip us for 3. It can't block. This is all fine. A Barrow Goyf. That is an interesting one, isn't it? If we're trying to win the game next turn... I guess we're not trying to win the game next turn anymore. We bounce the Dalthy, and then we Sheoldred's Edict this. That goes away. You try and sacrifice a non-token creature. Just clean this up. I don't mind them replaying the Dalthy. I don't really want them replaying the Barrow-Goyf. Okay, so our opponent might have some stuff that we care about for the purposes of Brainstorm. Okay. These two on top. So if they have to crack the bauble, we've got the Force of Will covering it. If they just play a creature, we can kill that. Or we can play the Borrower and just have more threats. Bloodstained Mire. This is where our opponent plays something completely out of left field. A Barrow-Goyf. Sure, that dies quite handily to what we've got going on. I'm going to play this out first. Our opponent has one spell they might be able to interact with. Alright, they've had enough, and we get to go to the sideboard. So this looks like just a sort of black-red mid-rangey style deck. So probably just going to want some access to Thoughtseizes. I don't really want these Force of Wills in this matchup. We're just going to be trying to trade resources. So the Fanatic is probably fine here. Like a Barrow-Goyf. Because Science of Memory is not really doing that much for us. Do we want anything else here? Like the Thoughtseizes are like interesting 1-for-1s. I guess they're probably better than the Cling to Dusts. We just take the one thing our opponent has that we care about. That's probably okay. They can be a little bit stinky later on, but that's what the Brainstorms and Ponders are for. Alright. Let's jam. Island Ponder. We've got a nice threat. We don't have any removal, but we have 2 cantrips to try and find that removal. That seems a-okay to me. A Fell Mire. I think I want to get this Ponder done before our opponent has any sort of Bowmaster style action. So we have a Bowmaster of our own. We have a lot of land already, so I think we're going to go something like this. So we can draw the Bowmasters, then shuffle away the extra land. Have access to Bowmasters, have access to push and ponder. Whatever we need, really. We're going to see like a Dark Ritual into some stuff. Or we're just going to see just a little 1-mana spell. Could be things like Stalactite Stalker in our opponent's deck. Alright, we're just Mountain Cycling, that's fine. So our opponent might have a graveyard theme going on in their deck. It's certainly possible. So maybe we need to alter our sideboarding for a game 3. We just don't have the information to work that out just yet. Okay, do I want to get this Bowmasters in, or do I want to have a Brainstorm? So we know there's one card we don't want on top. We get to see 2 other fresh ones and then shuffle. And then we can hold up a fetch land for our Fatal Push. That seems good and means we don't have to worry about Bowmasters. That's a lot of stuff. I guess we'll put back one of the lands. And then everything else here is kind of gas. The Oculus is going to be a little while before we get to stick that. But I think that's fine. Maybe we just operate off 3 mana and just have lots and lots of spells. In that case, we want to put back these 2. Then we can fetch up basics and play around Blood Moon, which is the thing our opponent might have access to. That might be what the red splash is for. Just uncertain as of yet. A Vexing Bauble. Well, our build at the moment does not care about Vexing Baubles. Ancient Tomb, okay. A Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Like, it's good. I think I will take out their creature at end step. We want to fill our graveyard and get this Oculus up and running. And we also want to shuffle our library. Hate doing this, it's trade in for like half a card. But it makes sense with the various plays we have available to us. We could just stick a massive creature here. So let's go and get our red source. Just have the big Barragoyf. Just have the biggest thing in play. Now our opponent's going to have some amount of removal and stuff. But we're just kind of throwing haymakers now. They take this out, we get the Oculus, which is going to be a very difficult thing for their black-red deck to deal with because it makes tokens to protect itself from the Edict. It also makes... Because the tokens aren't tokens. They're face-down cards, so they don't get... So if they Sheoldred's Edict us, we can sacrifice a Manifest Dreaded token. They're getting rid of Fury because it doesn't kill our Barragoyf. They could crack their Vexing Bauble to give themselves Revolt if they've got something like a Fatal Push they want to use to kill this. But if this dies, like I said, we just get another creature. If this doesn't die, then we have other creatures. Troll and the Mountain Cyclers. I do think our opponent probably has some amount of graveyard-based synergies in their deck. And maybe we do want the Graveyard Hate. Swamp from our opponent. Broadside Bombardiers. So they can't sacrifice, because this is creature or artifact, right? So they can't sacrifice anything to kill our Barragoyf here. Okay, now they can. Is that right? They've only got creatures in their graveyard. Okay. But they're going to sacrifice this now Spellbomb for no value. Alright, they're just not doing that at all. That is very interesting. I don't really want this just yet. So if we shoot this first... so this will be 1, 2... They'll have this. So this will still kill the Bombardiers on blocks. So we can attack. See what our opponent wants to do. Okay, so I see what this block is going to be, actually. So they're going to put the damage on. No, this isn't going to work for them, right? Because as soon as this goes in the graveyard, this is going to be bigger. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards in our graveyard right now. I think I'm going to cast a Ponder. If we find a land here, oh, we've got a Metamorphosis Fanatic as well. So if we bury the Fanatic, then the Thoughtseize, which will get flipped over by the Oculus. Actually, we don't have blue mana, do we? Whoops. What am I doing? No, so we have Bowmasters and Bolt held up. And then we can Thoughtseize next turn. So we can Thoughtseize and Kaito in the same turn, or Thoughtseize and Oculus next turn, which is fine. Living Death. How do I feel about Living Death? Our opponent's going to get all these things back. That certainly tells us some information, doesn't it? This is going to die. Is there a way that we can kill our own creature here? I don't believe there is. Alright, now we know what our opponent's doing. We'll take out their Bombardiers. Alright, so now I understand what our opponent's doing and the deck is cool. Our opponent, for one. So now this Thoughtseize we're about to draw looks really bad. So we can play the Oculus, which is obviously a big unit. That's going to put the Metamorphosis Fanatic underneath it, which isn't really where we want it. We want to get this Barragoyf back into play. But we could play a Kaito here and tap down one of their guys. Next time we get the Barragoyf back. Is that worth it? Seems unlikely to work given the Nile Spellbomb, so I think we're just going to Oculus it up. We can do this now while we have priority to do stuff. We've got a little bit of life to work with. So let's see what our opponent's got left in the tank. A Doughty Voidwalker or a Fury. I don't really want our opponent to hardcast this Fury, do I? The Doughty Voidwalker makes a lot more sense as well now. So you can Metamorphosis Fanatic next turn. No, we can't because we're manifesting it now, aren't we? So we'll put this into play. If we get 6 mana, we can flip it face up and have a 4/4. But this Null Spellbomb means that we didn't really get to do any of these fun things. But now we know what our opponent's deck does. Right, so there's a Doughty Voidwalker we knew about. Pyroblast on the Oculus. That's very good, isn't it? Okay. That's so many creatures. So that's 10 damage with Trample. So there's no blocking that. So that's 10. So that's 16 damage with Trample. And then another 6 that we can't block. What can we even draw here? No, I think our opponent's got us. Let's go to the sideboard games. Now we actually know what our opponent's deck is doing. Alright. I would very much like the Gnar Spellbomb alongside some Cling to Dusts. The Surgical is fine here. I think this is a better way of fighting than the Force of Wills though. So I don't really want Thoughtseizes anymore. I'd rather have the Graveyard Hate. What are the other 2 cuts here? Making our opponent discard cards is kind of a weird one. The Narset might be a little bit slow. I kind of like the Fanatic here. Bowmasters is not that impressive. It is just bodies on board, but I think we can probably trim one of those. Alright, let's go for this. No Graveyard Hate, but we have a good threat and some early removal for things like Doughty Voidwalker. This is fine. I wish this Undercity Sewers was in our deck though. Do not require another land. Because if it was on our deck, we could hold up Lightning Bolt or the Undercity Sewers. We had to make a decision. Our opponent's unlikely to play a creature on 1. So I think getting this down rather than holding up for the bolt makes sense. Let's ponder. Kolaghan's Command is kind of a weird one here, isn't it? Alright, I think we'll keep these, but we'll shuffle away the second Kolaghan's Command next turn. Unless we have to Lightning Bolt for some reason this turn. Kolaghan's Command, though, is a nice 2-for-1. We're going to see some Cyclers here. No Cycler. Just nothing on their first turn. If we don't have the Cyclers, they're probably going to be doing, like, Doughty Voidwalker things. So we can draw this Kolaghan's Command, kill this, make our opponent discard a card. Is that something our opponent would like us to do? Alternatively, we crack this, get a Mountain. We can Lightning Bolt their Doughty Voidwalker. And then just drop, like, a Strix or a Barragoyf. I think it's just the Barragoyf for now. How big is it? So we got Creature, Sorcery, Land. This is a 3/4, so it will die to a Fury. In that case, I think I'm going to dig for a turn with this Baleful Strix. Try and find some of that sweet Graveyard Hate that we put into our deck for when the time comes. I have a lot of time until that becomes a problem. Now, our opponent might have things like Dark Ritual, but they don't have anything really worthwhile bringing back. An Ancient Tomb. Okay, that accelerates them towards it. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. So we can break this up a little bit using our Orcish Bowmasters. Brainstorm. I would like to move some of these cards around. We have too many lands in our hand. Said we have too many lands in our hand. Not, can I have some more lands, please? Right, so those go away. We have a Polluted Delta here. We can Snapcaster Ponder. Or we can attack here. We can play a Barragoyf. Or we could Bowmasters in their upkeep to stop this from drawing cards without dying. So by doing this, we put a point on this guy. So if they draw a single card with their Fable, they lose their Shaman token. Now that might not be a problem for them. They might not really care about that. They just want to get the cards in the bin. They discarded nothing. Alright, so they're on the relatively fair side of their deck. which will hopefully line up like it did in game 1, and we can sort of run it over with our 2-for-1s. If I could find like a Cling to Dust, I'd feel a lot safer. I kind of want to have this Barragoyf as what we do afterwards. Broadside Bombardier is pretty good. They're going to treasure token. Where are they going to throw some damage? They're going to kill the army. So we can trade off with the Shaman token here and take 2. That's not too bad for us. We've got lands on top of our library, so we want to shuffle this. We want to do it in our turn in case we draw. We don't want to do it in the upkeep in case we draw a Fatal Push. So we're probably looking at Underground Sea. We're unlikely to want double red spell. Kolaghan's Command. That's a good one, isn't it? So we can bash here. Plus Polluted Delta. And see what we want to do. So we can Kolaghan's Command this and get back our Bowmasters. Next turn we can Snapcaster the Kolaghans to take out the backside of the Fable before it gets to ever tap and do anything. An Oliphant. Sure. Vexing Bauble. Sure. So our opponent is very much on Living Death rather than Living End. So now it's time to fire this off. 2 damage. And we could just attack their hand instead of getting back a Bowmasters. That might be better here. So they can discard and we'll kill this. Because if we do that now and then we do it with Snapcaster, we can take out multiple things from our opponent's hand. And they got rid of a Fable. So I want this Lorien Revealed, possibly. Another Fable. Yeah, Fables are good. A Ponder. So if we Ponder, we don't get to Snapcaster Kolaghan's Command here. Which I think is the correct play. So we get a Volk here. Cast this. So we need to keep a red and a black up for this. Need to click the right spell as well. That would help. Target this Kolaghan's Command. So I would like to make them discard a card, and I would like to deal 2 damage to any target. So we will make them discard, kill this. Black, red, and a blue. Alright, so they want to keep that one card in their hand. So that strikes me that we might be looking at the Living Death is the last thing they have. Which is decidedly good against Grixis control. Very poor against all the white control decks. But where we are, we don't really have sweepers. Our removal just puts them into the graveyard again. I kept the cards. This looks like... Okay, it's just a Fury. I say just a Fury. Fury's pretty good. So we're going to lose both of our creatures here. Our opponent's going to be able to jam for 2. But then we can untap with a 6/7 Barragoyf, which will live through a Fury. Which is not something many creatures do. Sure. I will do some Metamorphosis Fanaticing. So let's cast this. We'll get back. I think Baleful Strix is fine here. Get a little deeper. It does not shrink our Barragoyf. So we get to Ponder first as well here before we drop this Barragoyf. A Lightning Bolt is very nice. So if we put the Badlands on the bottom, then the Fanatic, then the Bolt, and then we can hold up this Bolt rather than playing out the Barragoyf. Let's snap off this Fury with a Lightning Bolt. You can bolt away the Reflection. What creatures are they going to get back at this point? Douthy, Oliphant, Broadside Bombardiers, and Fury. That's a lot for us to deal with. So I think we might be Metamorphosis Fanatic, get back Snapcaster, cast Brainstorm, a Living Death. Right, now they're just going for it now. Okay. We're obviously losing all our guys here and taking some damage. So this is 5, 6. This is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If they want to do it that way. I guess we ping them. And then... Do I want this Brainstorm? We know what's on top of our library. We know it's good. A real frustrating one for us. Because obviously the Lightning Bolt here, it plays. But then what? We bolt their guy and then we Barragoyf. I think we have to take the bolt here and let the Metamorphosis Fanatic go. Is that true? We get a massive guy to block with. We've got Badlands in here, haven't we? Let's take out the Bombardiers so we don't get attacked this turn at least. And then we can try and Barragoyf our way through. Fatal Push. Okay, that deals with one more guy. We'll fire this off now so our opponent doesn't get to cast anything sweet off of it. Play a massive, massive creature. What is this? Barragoyf of their own. Sure, I can live with that. I'm just going to have Barragoyfs barreling into each other. Could be. Another Metamorphosis Fanatic on the top would be nice here. Did not find... Ah, thanks so you could play. Not the timing I wanted on that one, for sure. So, we need blue. What mana do I want to keep up? Lightning Bolt is okay here. Fatal Push is not so good without something else anyway. I think we leave up the Badlands. We haven't got much time on our clock again. Apologies to my opponent, I'm taking ages on this one. Lots of stuff to think about. Had the Pyroblast. That's not the best for us, is it? We probably could have deduced they have that. But we're still casting Lorien Revealed in that spot anyway. Are we trading Barragoyfs? That's a possibility. If they've got a removal spell for our Barragoyfs, we are very much going to lose this one. Yeah, our opponent's deck seems uniquely suited to beating Grixis control. Which is cool. Maybe we're supposed to keep some... maybe we're supposed to keep some counter spells in our deck. They don't seem good into the deck that has a little bit of hand disruption and some vexing baubles and things. So where are they going to put this damage? One on the Orc army, not a surprise, and some on the Barragoyf. Everything's coming in. Oliphant makes the Fury bigger. So this deals 5 damage. So this is 10 damage on its own. So if we block this, we die to first strike immediately. So that's not happening. We block this, they trample over a bit. So this is the most damage we can actually prevent. And the Death Touch is good here. So then we're going to take another 5 and go to 2. Yikes. I think our opponent's bested us here. A Lightning Bolt. So we can bolt a Fury, but then these kill us. So we can just bolt ourselves and show ourselves a door. That was a pretty good game. And we finished up with... we didn't know what our opponent was doing, so we could have sideboarded better for game 2. We just got windmill slammed. You don't see a lot of living death. That's where you get the Brewer's advantage right there, and it absolutely was an advantage there and took us out. So the deck we finished a 3-2, which is, not great. It's, passable. But the deck should have gone 4-1. We ran out of time in the round where I had to do something and the clock went down. So a 4-1 for the deck isn't too bad. And that last matchup, if I'd have known we were playing, I would bet on ourselves to win that matchup. We had a load of graveyard hate that could have just said no, but we just couldn't get there. And our opponent won't be able to deal with our artifacts very easily either. So if we just set aside a Gnarl Spellbomb in play, or even just had the Cling to Dust and taken out a few things, we would have been fine. So a little bit unfortunate there in terms of the matchup, but well played to our opponent in that last one. They absolutely dumbfounded us, and they got a win with a really sweet deck that I might try and jam on the channel at some point. All right, let's talk about the list. So clearly this deck has a lot of levers it can pull. It's doing lots of similar but different things, so it covers a lot of its bases. We have quite a wide array of different removals. We have quite a surprising amount of damage-based removal in Kolaghan's Command and Lightning Bolts in a format where Psychic Frog is the premier threat, which famously doesn't die to that sort of removal. But that being said, we still have Kaito, which can tap stuff down. This card has impressed me quite a bit. We have the Bowmasters, which can gain some value off your opponent doing that sort of thing. Narset can maybe stop Frog for a little bit. We can bounce the Frog and reset the counters. And then we have the Death Touch creature to get in the way. So we do have stuff to interact with Frog. And the Lightning Bolt is just a really cost-efficient answer for a bunch of other things, right? So when Lightning Bolt is good, obviously it's very, very good. So that's the reason we're running it, because we've got these other mitigating factors that can hopefully step in and stop the Frog from getting us. But when it's a Frog matchup, we're obviously going to be boarding in our Fatal Pushes out of the sideboard to make that a little bit easier. I quite enjoyed this list. Obviously, I don't think this is the optimal Grixis list. I think James Kisau, who played this deck to the 5-0, wanted to play some new cards. Wanted to get the Oculus going and some Fanatic and Kaito. Oculus 6 cards is quite a few, but it's certainly doable. Is this the best thing you can be exiling cards from your graveyard to do? This is just going to run into opposing Murktide Regents all the time, but maybe the idea is that we're going to be able to get through their Murktides using our Kaitos or our Baleful Strixes, our Edicts, that sort of jazz. And the fact that this goes wide and keeps producing more things is quite handy and can do a lot of work, especially when you're looking at things like Eldrazi kicking around, where they can be attacking with a bunch of creatures, so having more blockers becomes a very useful metric to play the game on. So I don't know, I'm uncertain about this Oculus. It's just a thing that we're doing though, so it's reasonable. We didn't get to live the dream of surveilling it away with the sewers and then bringing it back with Fanatic. But once again, Fanatic has been pretty good in my mind. This has been a card where I've been wanting it more often than not, I would say. So that's something to keep in mind moving forward. I think I really like the Fanatic in the sort of mid-rangey shells, not so much just, oh yeah, let's try and use this as another Animate Dead, because it's not as good as Animate Dead. Animate Dead can hit your opponent's graveyard as well, and Animate Dead doesn't require it to be a certain place in your library in order for it to work. But this is just like a nice mid-range thing. Okay, we've traded some resources off backwards and forwards. It's like turn 5. Oh look, I've drawn this thing that all of a sudden is going to be a massive 2-for-1, maybe even better if I've got some other effects. You know, like bringing back existing 2-for-1s like Baleful Strix. So I do like the Fanatic quite a bit in this sort of shell. I'm not convinced by the Oculus. And the Kaito, obviously bouncing back your Baleful Strix is quite a fun thing to do and can get some nice value. Same with Bowmasters. I'm not necessarily sure this is where you want to be. It's certainly an idea. Whether or not this is better than just running like Dak Faden, which is pretty interesting with Bowmasters because you can target your opponent and get a load of Bowmaster triggers. Or if you've got the Narset, you can then target them with a Dak Faden and then they don't just have to discard 2 cards. So that's kind of interesting you can do. Although Dak Faden doesn't really win you the game in the same way that Kaito does, where it can just bash and just keep getting bigger, or it can surveil for stuff. You know, it can be card advantage in a pretty key way here. And the ability to use this as removal and protecting yourself is really key too. So I do like the Kaito. I think I'd maybe want a 4th Baleful Strix if I was running the Kaito just to help out. But yeah, I like this deck a lot. And if you like this deck, there is a link in the description to James Kisau's channel. They make some good content for the old Legacy, and they are a Grixis master. So definitely check out their content. All right, I think we're done for this one. I hope you enjoyed us playing something a little bit different. We got to play some sweet Living Death in the final round, so I'm pretty happy about that too. Even though they crushed us, it was a fun matchup indeed. All right, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget Turbodepths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low-cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed Turbodepths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.